In today's video, I want to talk about the importance of fighting off the center line in a duel or a pro fight or a night fight, or when you might want to fight on center line and why you're making those choices. All right, before we get into the video, I want to talk about the sponsor of this video, which is me. If you go down the link below, there's Woodchuck Night Store. You can buy hats, t-shirts, other equipment from my own personal Woodchuck brand, as well as the Nightmares, the local Nashua team that I fought on in the past. Help support the channel, buy something cool, wear some merch. In fact, I'm wearing all night merch today from different places. I'm wearing my USA shirt from back when I fought in Spain, the KFL hat. Having cool merchandise and gear that supports this sport is really awesome, and you get to wear it and people ask you about it. So if you want to, go down below, buy a shirt, buy a hat, buy a patch, and help support this channel and help me continue to grow. So let's talk about what I mean by center line and fighting off the center line. So the idea for this video came from a recent set of fights I had down in Charleston, Mass. I was fighting a newer fighter as well as a more experienced fighter. And even the experienced fighter, he was a lefty. He hasn't fought a lot of lefties. So it kind of threw him off a little bit, I think. And I was able to take advantage of this by fighting off of the center line. So let's talk about what that means. We think of center line is that middle line, center is my body, right? So right here is the center line. My nose would be my center line. And a lot of times I see fighters square up center line to center line. So I do the best I can in this camera, using the camera as kind of the reflection. So right now, if you think of the center of the camera line as the center line. So fighting, and you square up and you fight even like this. A-frame, whatever stance you're in, I don't really care. Hanging guard, which I wouldn't do in duels and a night fight, but fighting off the center line, so you're basically even to even, right? And what I was able to do in that fight, again, this is something unique. This is in most martial arts, particularly sword fighting. You'll find this done in a lot of formats, but I think people forget about it sometimes, is when you line up for that person, I don't want to line up centered on them, right? I'm going to decide to fight off the center line. And what I mean by that is I'm going to choose to move my stance over here. So if you imagine this is still the center line, and if I'm fighting someone who would be right-handed, so their sword's coming in on this side, I might shift it way over for me as a lefty. I'm putting my shield basically in their sword space and taking away a lot of their options, right? Now fighting another lefty, his sword's actually on the left side, so most fighters righty on righty, this is really important because you want to fight off that center line to take away a lot of their sword options. So if the sword's coming in on this side, obviously, a righty or on righty or lefty on lefty, you're going to have the shield there already. But look at what happens if the sword is over here coming in and I step this far over. He has a long way to go to use that sword, where I am now throwing to only using his sword to block. I have more options, right? So I think a lot of times when I line up with someone, the first thing I'll do is I'll come out in a fight and I'll line up and I'll set up, face to face, we'll touch swords or whatever, and I'll start that fight very centered. And then as we throw a couple shots, I'm going to shift my stance over just a little bit. Now this can be your shield foot forward, your sword foot forward. The stance is going to depend on your fighting style and what format you're in and why you're doing it. But for me, a lot of that is deciding to move off that line and take away some of their options. You can shift center line the other way. You might want to shift this way for some of your fight, and you're taking away and even exposing yourself. If your plan is to come in for a grapple in a night fight, if your plan is to come in with, hook shots with a shield, hook punches, there's a lot of different reasons you'd fight off it. But by choosing that, by instead of lining up center to center, you're not fighting on both sides of your body. You're deciding how to dictate this fight and control it. And then you want to pay attention to your opponent. If you shift off center and they either shift farther off against you or they line up on you or they keep shifting, it's a dance. You're making decisions as you're fighting on where you want to be. So to me, it's not, center bad, this good or bad. It's deciding off that center point where I want to stand at this point to how I want to control the field. And this is where I think ring control comes in as very important. So again, if I'm sitting here and now I've got my sword foot forward, and you can't really see it in this video, but so this shield is forward, and I'm squared up. Now I'm basically just trading blows with that person, right? Trading blows with them equal. I'm blocking on both sides. we're now fighting, again, if I'm fighting another lefty, he's throwing into my shield, I'm throwing into his shield. If I'm fighting a righty, we're throwing sword into sword. But we have our whole body in play with that fight, where I want to just take away options. So if I shift over here, and again, if it's a lefty, all his sword shots are coming in this side. Even if it's a righty, he now has to throw over my shield or through this. This is covering way more of my body. If I'm over here, my shield, unless I cross it across my body, is covering essentially this side of my, here, I'm using my sword for this side of the fence. Very much simplifying, but trying to give it so you understand like that center line idea, right? So here's the center line. This shield is good through here without having to cross that line. And this sword is good for blocking from here without having to cross that line. Now you can see, like, again, I will throw blocks across, but if I throw a block across and I'm wrong, look at how much of me is exposed. If I throw a block here and I'm just moving up and down, I still have this entire sword to make adjustments. So when I'm fighting off that center line and move over here, you know, I'm now forcing, if that fighter is still centered and their weapons are coming on this side, they have a lot less options. I've taken away this side of my body. In fact, sometimes when I'm fighting opposite hands, so if I'm fighting a righty, and again, I'm a lefty, I'll not only fight opposite side, I'll shift my stance and put my shield way forward. And see, I'm turning my whole shoulder. Look how much I'm taking out. You've got very little, and if I'm here, now I have to make movements to throw my strikes, but if I'm fighting defensively for a minute, I'm going to move it here, again, off that center. If I did the same stance center line, sure, I have more of my shield, but as you can see, again, if that center line, there's still a lot more of me to go at that I have to defend with the sword. So this is not about right or wrong. There's definitely times I square straight up. Sometimes you just want to like throw shots and bang on it. Like I'll center up because we're just going to blat, blat, blat. I think I can overpower. That's the time to do it. Sometimes if I'm going real shield heavy, like I said, I will, because my shield's on this side, I'll step off center line here and I'll shift that stance back because my next goal is to throw that shield punch in, right? I'm coming in here going blat, or I'll shift my sword this way. Now again, I'm off center line, so I'm covering more with this. Throw a couple, snap shots, couple little shots, coming in or stepping in with that shield. I'm trying to take away their options and give myself an angle of attack that I want to fight at. The downside of it is that here, I'm also losing some of their body sometimes. Because again, if they're center line here, they're going to have body on this side. I'm giving away, but I'm choosing that choice. I think that for me is the difference. When it's dictated for you, when someone steps off center and you don't realize it or you're not paying attention, you're fighting like you're squared. You're fighting like you're even up and you're thinking all these shots are equal shots to throw. If you're the one dictating by going off center line, you're now the one saying, I did that because I want to throw this kind of shot, or I want to step in with this shield punch. It's a fluid movement. You're going to have lots of back and forth, and every time you step, someone steps with you. But you'll find that if you're thinking in terms of controlling center line, deciding where you want to be during that fight, you're going to have the advantage. You're going to be able to react faster. You're going to be leading the fight and controlling it. What made me think about this was, again, I did this to a fighter recently who hasn't fought a lot of lefties, and I think they didn't, realize that as another lefty, I was fighting them. It was equal-handed, so by stepping off center line, I took away a lot of their shots. But also, I took it away and then controlled the speed of the fight. I'm not the fastest guy. This guy's a faster fighter than me. He's got quicker hands, got more endurance. But he got a little frustrated because he was trying to put himself in that stance of like, why can't I land all these shots that I normally do? And it's because I took away some of those options. I took them away. Again, why would I fight the other way? Well, sometimes if it's for me, fighting a righty, I've gotten pretty good at blocking with my sword because I fight a lot of righties. So the sword's coming in this way from the right side. My sword's in my left hand. They're going to be opposite, right? I will sometimes step off the other way on purpose into their shield side because I know they're going to throw a bunch of sword shots. I'm going to block a bunch, and I'm looking to step in and throw a hook. Or I'm looking to give them off center line so that they throw a shot. I'm going to close in and turn and go for the inside of their shield arm. Go shot in here, right? There's a whole bunch of different reasons to move, but I think for me, it's about making sure I'm never evenly squared, right? Evenly squared up. So this is not a new technique. This is not something I invented. This is something that I think I'm particularly good at, not because of night fighting, but because of the years I spent playing basketball. And let me explain. I spent a lot of my life playing basketball. I was a basketball coach. I ran a nonprofit camp. I love the sport. I was, again, not a high jumper, not wildly athletic, not super fast. I have pretty quick hands, but not super fast feet. So when I was defending people, I became a pretty good defender, not by being faster or quicker, or by being a little sneakier and, again, controlling that center line. So let's imagine for a second there's a basketball hoop behind me, and there's someone right in front of me trying to dribble and play past me. If I square up on them like this, they have to take one step past me, and they're going to go whatever they want. And again, normally a righty is going to go right hand, their strong side. So what I'm going to do then is try to be quicker and try not to get them around me. If I step off center line and turn my body, so again, there's center line here, I'm giving them a direction to go. I'm saying, hey, you got the ball right in the center here, you're here, you want to go to the hoop behind me. If I turn right here, it's really hard to step past this foot, especially if I get a wide stance. That person can't go through me, they have to go out and around me. They're now going to instinctually go this way. So what you want to do, again, in basketball, oftentimes, you want people to go to their weaker hands. With a righty, you try to make them go lefty. So again, maybe have to dribble this way with their left hand, or I'd take the ball away. But more importantly, I would be dictating what direction I wanted them to go in. I'd be taking away 50% of their options. By doing that, I am funneling them. Maybe I wanted to go this way. I'm funneling them towards one of my teammates, or away from the hoop at an angle of a 45, or into a position where I think we're going to have able to defend them better. Maybe I know, again, they're weaker with their left hand. It's going to have more trouble shooting off that foot, things like that. Maybe I'll give them their strong hand if they're a righty, because I know that, again, I'm forcing them out. I'm not going to turn this way and go here, dribble past me, but I am going to turn, instead of squaring up and they have to get one step past me, I'm going to go like this. It's very hard to get around this arm. And here, I'm giving you all of this stuff. And as I slide this way, I'm pushing you away from that hoop that's now behind me here. So that's where the idea came from for me, and how I translated it. When I started fighting, I thought, again, there's no hoop, there's no ball, there's the fighter, but they're essentially trying to go through you, right? Their weapon is trying to go through you. I want to punch through a human being. I want to strike through you. I'm not trying to tap you, I'm trying to go through you, especially in a night fight. So it kind of was natural for me when I started squaring up and go, wow, this feels really even. They can do whatever they want. It's going, I'm going to make you make a choice. I'm going to step here. And now, yeah, you can go this way around me, but I'm aware of that. It's going to be much harder for you to cut around the other way. Back it up a little bit, maybe you can see some of my legs too with this here, best I can get in this video. But again, when I say stepping off center line, again, center line right here, you're going to see that as I step out, I'm kind of turning my body a little bit. Now this is sword foot forward for the stance. I could go this foot forward, but I'm turning that body a little bit to give them this angle. I don't want them, I'm not going to step like square up and step off center line and keep my feet flat next to each other. That's a death sentence. You always want 1 foot forward, want a good balanced stance. But I'm giving them the opportunity to go this way, to swing this way, to move this way. I'm aware of that. If I'm fighting dead center here, again, center line here, I step off. I'm now fighting here. We're assuming they're squared up. I'm going to now stand and I'm going to give them that option. I want them to move this way because they're going to move, and I'm aware of it. I'm going to start throwing shots into that. So I'm dictating their stance, their positioning, and what options they have, and taking away some of theirs. Like I said, it takes away some of mine as well. I'm very aware of that. But because I'm making that choice, I'm going in with a strategy and a plan. Switch it up, too. If you're starting, again, because oftentimes you want to step your center line off with your shield side, you get more shield protection, as you saw here. Again, if they're centered here and I'm over here, it's hard for them to throw. Do that for a while, then you switch it up halfway through the fight, and they've been used to going one way, now they can't go that way. They have to start cutting the other way. By doing little steps like this, by little motion like this, you are dictating and changing pace. That goes with switching stances, talking about sometimes sword foot forward, sometimes shield foot forward, offline, center line, on center line. Doing all these things allows you to have more control over the dynamics of the fight before you've even thrown a shot. And if you can control that, it's not about endurance, it's not about strength, it's not about sword technique, it's about controlling the space so that you have the options you want and taking away the options that the other person would love to have. This does work also with longsword. So you got a wooden longsword here, right? So again, if we're center lined up, you know, where basically either way, if I step offline here, again, they're still centered here, I'm giving them this side of my body, but I'm taking away a lot of this side. Much harder for them to throw a shot to here. Against a righty, sometimes what I'll do is I'll step off center line and I'll keep their sword on the outside. So keep their sword on the outside. So they have to throw, and I'll have to use this little block here to cover, because their sword's out here. They have to wrap it around, and now I can throw these little snapshots to the inside, to their center line right here, you know, because I'm now moved off, right? Or I might put the sword on the inside and turn my body out. So again, their center line's here. I've moved off it. My sword's here. This is my blocking tool, and I've put their sword on this side, so they're fighting in here. Now I'm controlling this direction. Right? I know what options I'm giving. I'm sorry, you're going to worry about your hand and your blocking and all that. So it doesn't matter which weapon format you have. In a one-on-one fight, the most important thing I think you can do prior to the fight starting and when the fight begins is decide how you want to control center line, and you're fighting for that space the whole time. The best fighters I've seen do this, along with the techniques and the skills to throw the right strikes and the right shots and have the right endurance and all that. But I think a lot of new fighters, and even experienced fighters, forget this sometimes. They go in there and just, they square up and they just start throwing shots. And then it's who's faster, who's quicker, who's got more endurance. Those are things that I want, but this is a thing I can control with very little effort other than shifting my feet a little bit off that center line. Hope you found this video helpful. If you have more questions, you can always leave a comment, like, subscribe, follow, all that wonderful stuff. I'm the Woodchuck Knight. I'm here to give you some basic advice on the sport of armored combat in Buhurt. Till we talk again, have a great day.